Pakistan is something that you just got to live with. Munir, what he said a few days ago about jihad against India, etc. So that's an Islamist mindset. It's not a professional army mindset. We need to have better relations with China, and we need to have patience with them because they're made like that. They take time. For the Americans, what they want is total control. The fact is, they would like a democracy which is pliable. That's what the West wants. That's what primarily the United States wants. That is the meaning of democracy for them.
So going into the future, what is something India should watch out for?
I think we have to watch for
Namaste, sir. Welcome to Bharat Varta again. It seems like there isn't a dull day in the world of geopolitics, right?
Yeah.
I mean, something keeps happening. We discuss this almost
Yeah.
on a monthly, weekly basis. So today we want to talk about what's happened over the last 2-3 months since the last time we met. We start with our neighborhood. There's chaos in Nepal. What do you think is happening there? These are Gen Z protests. People who are sort of frustrated with the musical chairs that's happening with Duba, Dahal, and Oli, or some kind of a sinister plot by the people behind the curtains, or probably like a mix of both.
Thank you very much first for having me over for this podcast. Always enjoy talking to you. And you're right, the way things are going, it seems that you don't make daily assessments, you have to make hourly assessments. I mean, things just keep happening one after another. So you can't sit down today and say, well, this is what I think is going to happen tomorrow, day after, the month from now, but things just don't happen that way quite often. So it's becoming difficult to accurately predict. You can give a general thing saying that, okay, Modi ji has gone to China and now the three of them sat together. So they've got a new camp coming up and everybody's frightened of that. That's another aspect. You can talk about that later.
Yeah.
You wanted to know more about what's happening in the neighborhood. I guess we should start with Bangladesh, where it started. There's the student revolt against the government. And the planting of a man there who's been sort of parachuted in from the US.
Probably the least popular leader right now.
And made the boss.
Right.
And the democratically elected prime minister has been asked to leave. So whereas on the one hand, the Americans keep shouting that we are for democracy, actually it doesn't seem to work like that for them in practice. They prefer dictatorships in the so-called third world or global south, as you may call it. So the invisible Pakistani, beg your pardon, American hand is not so invisible here. There are vested interests. They had their Deputy Secretary of State Donald Liu visiting Bangladesh before it blew up. I do not know what they talked or how they talked, but things seem rather unnatural that it should flare up like this and lead to the ouster of the Prime Minister, and you'd have an Islamic government in position, hostile to India. And we are not sure, at least I'm not sure, where they're going to eventually end up. As Pakistan sees it as a great opportunity, of course. Even happily talked of merger, but I don't think that will happen. Because no politician wants to lose his patch of ground. So apart from any other reason, I don't think the average Bangladeshi also wants that.
The Punjabis and
they never got along with the Punjabis, so that will not happen.
Yeah.
However, now Nepal is clearly, to me, a revolt facilitated by the internet world,
Hmm.
the world of social media. If you want to trigger, that was the trigger when the communist government banned those things. And all the gussa, the thing that we can't have our favorite toy, went into play. But Roshan, you can have a crossroad squabble in many parts of the country, India included, or after a traffic accident or something like that, and a bunch of hoodlums beat up another bunch of hoodlums, and they have one or two shootouts, and that subsides. Riots are made to happen.
Mm.
Riots are not just an odd event. There has to be a kingpin. There has to be a plan to it. There has to be a drill, sort of order of battle, as it were, to do it. So that needs organization. That needs planning. So I don't know who did the planning. So let's see who's the gainer from this.
Right. What do you think is the larger strategic purpose of something like this?
Is it a message for us? They tried to give us a message, I thought, when the CAA riots were on, when the farmers' protests were on, and so on and so forth. They didn't work the way it was. It didn't flare up into an all-India conflagration because we're not so. It's not easy. They can do it in smaller countries, and that too is not all the time guaranteed. So the idea is, if I look at it, that there has to be a motive. Is it anti-China? Then you need to get the leftist out. Or is it anti-India? Now events in the future, I have no information about what is going on.
Right.
But obviously, there's going to be a new kind of government. Monarchy, I don't think will come back.
Won't make a return?
I don't think so. It's too archaic now.
Mm.
There are, of course, groups who favor that. There are many groups who favor that. But are they in a majority? Can they hold an election on that and win? I doubt it.
In each of these sort of regime changes and so on, you have these kind of, I don't want to call them iconoclasts, but very unusual sort of leaders. You have this guy Balansha in Nepal right now.
Yeah.
Seems to be a very unusual background as well, right? A musician or a rapper and a structural engineer, something of that sort, right? Novice in politics, but becomes mayor of Kathmandu and seems to be doing, at least is coded to be doing great work there and so on. And he has stayed out of the center stage here, right? Probably biding his time for when he can take on larger responsibilities. But do you think these kind of folks, just happen organically, or do you think that there is some sort of external support, funding, encouragement for these types?
When the Arab Spring took place in Egypt, you had a chap called Wael Gomed. He was sitting in the UAE. He was on the Twitter, and he was really controlling everything in Cairo and Egypt. When the things were over, guess what happened to him?
Bumped off?
No. Oh. He went back to New York and joined his Google firm. Okay. So we don't know about him. I don't know where he's come from.
Right.
I haven't been able to find out.
Right.
But when you're in the game, you go to look for, what is the word I'm looking for? A nodal point or somebody who can put the people together, smart enough to do that. You had somebody like this in Bangladesh also. So this is how it is operated. They revolve around a totem pole.
Right. So such folks can be cultivated.
Do
you think in the last 25, 30 years, do you think we came close to something like that? Like
Us.
India?
Not in a serious threatening way, no.
Okay.
But the fact is, on a general pattern, they would like a democracy which is pliable. That's what the West wants. That's what primarily the United States wants. That is the meaning of democracy for them.
Someone who listens to them.
Somebody who looks after my interest, who keeps my interest above his own. Now, that's not happening. That's not happening for a number of reasons. We can talk about it later.
Right.
They were always wary of us. First, we were in the Soviet camp. We were proto-socialists and so on and so forth. And then non-alignment was, of course, evil. And they relied more on allies like Pakistan to deliver for them. And quite frankly, Pakistan did a lot for them also. They organized the opening for Nixon to go to meet Mao. When I think it was Ayub Khan who went and met Mao, got a breakthrough, and then Kissinger went, and then Nixon followed. So that was a great Cold War achievement for the Americans to wean China away from Russia, Soviet Union. Then they were the base for their war against Soviet Union in Afghanistan.
Right.
And they've always had a great relationship with the ISI, the CIA, ISI, training, supplies, everything has been worked out with them. And it becomes easier for them because the ISI is the military wing of the Pakistan military. It's not a civilian outfit.
Right.
So things move smoothly.
But don't they also do the most number of, I think, military exercises with us?
That's okay. That is to also to show their own prowess and test ours. That's not an innocent bye thing.
Okay. So in all of this, do you think the Baloch issue has taken a backseat, or do you think that it is still continuing? Because the last time we spoke, I mean, we had talked about how they're taking significant numbers of the Pakistani army folks, and that the morale was not that great as well. So you think, I mean, that's continuing, or?
I think it's continuing. It'll probably continue.
Okay.
Because so long as the Afghans and the Pakis don't get along, so long as they themselves, the TTP, etc., keep hitting at Pakistani forces. Even the other day there was an incident, I think, in the frontier. So this will continue for I don't know how long.
So when you talk about geopolitics, everyone seems to talk up Pakistan's quote unquote strategy and geopolitical game and so on, right? And we are often compared with that, saying that look, they punch way above their weight. They can play the US, they can play China, and they can get what they want. But it's also because they're extremely pliant, right? I mean, they can say yes to the US, yes to China, and yes to someone else.
Do as they say, Ji Hazuri, and go on salami, and
then they don't care about their local populations or any interest.
They don't care about them as long as the money comes to them and they can plant their money outside and live buy properties outside in Canada and United States and UK and live happily ever after. So there is no linkage between that. A few Islamists will get up now and then and say that we are for the Pakistan army. And quite frankly, I see that the Pakistan army has become more and more Islamic itself. To quote only Munir, what he said a few days ago about jihad against India, etc.
Right.
So that's an Islamist mindset.
Yeah.
It's not a professional army mindset.
Right.
So it talks about jihad, it talks about conquer, not talking about a solution. And the solution being jihad is his vocabulary. That's odd. I don't see an Indian army chief or a navy chief talking like this.
Or even in Nepal for that matter.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
don't talk like this,
yeah.
but to them it comes easily.
Mm. So they say you don't choose your neighbors,
No,
and we have who we have.
we have to cope with them.
Yeah. So how do you think we should manage with all of these things that are happening?
I think what we are doing currently is pretty okay.
Mm.
They're not important for us. Do we trade anything? Do we buy anything from them? Do we need anything from them? There is just a tract of land which prevents us from access to Central Asia, isn't it?
Right.
So either we try and go around through the Arabian Sea into the Persian Gulf. Therefore, Iran becomes important for us, and we don't want to spoil our relations with Iran. Just not knock them over the table, which again doesn't please Washington. I think Tel Aviv would understand, but it doesn't please Washington. I mean, they just don't want this kind of thing happening because
But
the world belongs to them.
But from a national security perspective?
Yes, so we need to keep Iran on our side. Actually, we need both. We need Iran and Israel. Israel for its security and intelligence apparatus, its ability to provide technology to us and support us on various occasions. So we cannot do without them. Cannot means it's a little bit of an exaggeration, but essentially we need them.
Right.
On our side. And so do we need Iran. But Pakistan is something that you just got to live with. Dealing with Pakistan means actually just, in today's day and age, ignore them. Just ignore them.
There are two sort of voices on that front, right? One says, just completely decimate them, right? I mean, make them absolutely weak. And the other says, no, I mean, we need them at a certain reasonable level so that, they are mildly prosperous as well, so that we can deal with the more reasonable type of population and a nation, let's say. What do you see?
We can't order our neighbor.
But we can influence them.
We can influence them or learn to live with them. I don't think in the present day you can influence Pakistan. You just have to go around minding your own business. He can do what he wants. He cannot conquer us. He cannot defeat us. He can create mischief.
How do we prevent another Pahalgam?
If you keep hitting them back and make them pay a price, they will learn their lesson. And this Sindoor was a great lesson. We didn't just hit one target like in Balakot. First we went for their terrorists, all the 7 or 6 terror locations. Then they came back with something. Then we hit 11 sites, I think. That's huge. Military sites.
Do you think we hit their nuclear stockpiles?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Nuclear, I don't know. I think they might have hit the entrance or the gate or adjacent location. I don't know. But perhaps it was close enough for the Americans for Trump to jump out of bed and say, make peace. And I've said that they've agreed.
I'm sure you've heard of this rather juicy theory that the US is actually the nukes belong to the US and they are piling it in Pakistan.
I don't really think that is the case. They are Pakistani nukes.
Achha.
And Pakistan. Why would the Americans keep their nukes there?
Maybe
in a country which you can't trust to that extent.
Right.
You know, after all, they had Osama bin Laden, and they have terror groups who can turn either way. So why would you keep your precious nuclear cargo in a country like that? Do you think they would keep so many nukes in Italy or Germany? France wouldn't take them, but that's another matter.
Right. One often wonders, right? I mean, how much of this is like deep state machinations versus the discretion of the elected government, right? Um, so, what percentage of some sort would you attribute to either of these?
Where?
Like, engineering some chaos in Bangladesh, engineering chaos in Nepal, let's say, um, trying to prop up rebels
Yeah.
somewhere in the northeast, etc.
Yeah.
So all these, I mean, is this the shadowy men behind the curtain, or is
It's very difficult to quantify this and predict this. Some of them may happen on their own also. After all, if there are northeast major groups there, they were there for a long time. Ulfa, the Nagas, and the Mizos, and so on and so forth. But nothing was achieved beyond agreements and some arrangements made for the Nagaland ban gaya, Mizoram ban gaya, they had their own governments and so on and so forth. Beyond that, nothing happened. There was no wrenching away or breaking of India any further.
Right.
So they might. Fiza was living in Britain and a few other Naga leaders. Obviously, they had an interest.
Right.
You have a lot of these Pakistani, Kashmiri groups living in the United States, UK. They are all handy fellows to be used, pulled back, etc., funded quite substantially by some American establishment. So they are all there. Do you think the Sikhs were there in Canada without any support? These terror or Khalsa groups and all, they all must be getting some support from the Canadian authorities because of maybe not anti-India, but the domestic politics wanted them to vote.
Yeah.
Stay there and they could vote for them, etc. So, for the Americans, what they want is total control, not the nature of your government. Democracy is not important. Your obedience is. If you toe my line, if you put my interest before your own, then you're a good guy. So if you stand up and say, I want to be Atmanirbhar, what the hell does that mean? You want to be self-reliant? So, that's the attitude. Then what do I do with my goods if you're going to make your own?
Right.
And then as we grow, industrially and otherwise, we also need rare earths. We also need markets. We also need resources. Then we are becoming competitors. And if you are going to be saying that we're going to be the third largest economy by year so and so, then you're in big league by many standards. So, is that good with Asia dominating? China on the one hand and India on the other and Russia around, and the whole picture looks different.
Right. From having seen all of this stuff happen in our neighborhood, what do we watch out for? Because my absolute nightmare scenario is that, there's one bizarre, terrible election, right? Which obviously, I mean, we've had before, right? In our history, let's say, and the wrong kind of folks come into power, right? I mean, the kinds who don't have any sort of ethos, ethical concerns, don't have much national pride. I mean, are happy to be
in India.
Yeah.
I think at one level your fears are justified, but I think our electorate has become much smarter than before ever.
You think so?
I think so. And that's why from from a rise of single party majority, one party majority, to a better control. They brought them down a peg or two that don't get out of hand. Okay? There are things to do you haven't done. I think they realize that the options that we have today are limited.
In terms of the opposition, like a credible opposition.
Yes. We don't have a responsible opposition. The
Right.
responsible opposition would discuss things with you in parliament and argue with you that you are wrong or whatever it is. That you don't go out onto the streets. You don't take policy onto the streets.
Yeah. And you don't seek external help.
Yes.
You don't amplify things that your, enemies are talking about you.
Have you ever seen any American or British coming to India in the current era and talking and running down his own country or writing about his own country from here? I haven't heard.
No.
They never do it. We don't learn that. Much less a politician coming here and saying, please, humko bacha lo. India doesn't have a democracy. I haven't heard anybody say America doesn't have a democracy in United States. So these are things that are our weak links. A good democracy needs a good opposition. A good democracy needs a unified government and a unified, or at least substantially unified opposition to be able to deliver, so that the best in the debate, best in the arguments come out, and you then get going. Everything the government does is not bad. Everything that it does is not evil by any standards. You can say things are wrong. We don't want you to do it like this. You can argue about it, debate. That's what the parliament is meant for.
Right.
That's where you're supposed to discuss and bring it out in front of the people.
It should be India first.
Yeah, you debate there and let the debate be known to everybody.
Right.
But this is not democracy, marching up and down India and saying this is... What's that?
But the US also seems to be in a boil right now, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you probably would have followed the recent shooting of, the unfortunate shooting of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And what's followed
they
after that.
They beheaded an Indian origin person.
Yeah, I mean, he was...
for an argument, somebody beheaded.
Yeah, it was horrible, actually.
But don't you see the difference? How long it took for these Americans to react to this? To the latter incident.
Yeah, I mean, it was...
Even here, but there was no reaction here.
Right. It was gruesome. I mean...
gruesome. And
I unfortunately watched the videos and it was terrible. Really terrible.
Americans have... Mr. Trump has a lot of domestic issues to solve. Now, look at this thing I was reading in the papers this morning. They shut off some, I think it's called the Slavery Museum or the 18th Century Museum, where they have a black man's photograph with all the lacerations on his back. And he's planted as an image of what his white masters did to him. Now he's shut all that out.
You think there is some kind of ethno-nationalistic revival in the US?
I think there is. And this is going to happen all over Europe also.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, because I'm just purely looking at the Ukrainian migrant who was killed on the trains, right? I mean, things seem to be adding up, actually. I mean, there's just a lot of unrest.
The pushback has begun.
Yeah.
And it will be, can be quite bloody.
And we're going to be collateral damage for sure, right?
Europe, the Europeans mostly seem to ignore it for the moment. You got a home minister, home secretary, home minister in Britain who is known for her Islamic viewpoints. You got the mayor of London who's similarly attuned. So, and you got X number of ex-Pakistanis or whatever as mayors in the country. So, and all they want is a very simple thing, Roshan. They want Sharia.
Mm.
They want to be ruled by the Sharia in their area. So, and the British seem to be agreeing in many cases.
Yeah, what was really shocking for me is, when the evidence came out about the whole pedophilia ring and everything, and everyone got to understand the gruesome details of what was happening. Still, I mean, majority of the mainstream media wanted to kind of hush it up, right? I mean, they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, and they also used to
call it South Asian.
Or South Asian, and then at some stage they would, if you went and lodged a complaint or stood up to defend yourself, they'd lock the guy who was doing it instead of taking the other chap into custody.
So, for folks of my generation, maybe like, couple of generations older as well, there was this dream of going to the US, building a life and so on. You think we're on the last throes of that?
I think it's going to slow down substantially.
Yeah.
I also fear that many will leave and come.
Yeah.
Reverse migration.
Right.
And I think we should be prepared to provide to them the kind of jobs they had there. Because, we won't be able to pay the same amount, but they at least we should have enough industries or software companies that need their expertise.
Yeah.
Let's not let that go waste. And he shouldn't come back and have to start a dukan. And
Yeah.
We should plan all that because it is going to happen.
Right.
Where else can they go? The other economies are all in dire straits. Nobody is blooming as we are. 6 to 7 to 8% in a time when everybody else is in the docks. So we should be able to use them. The other thing you have to do is, we're still the most inefficient country among the bigger countries as far as agricultural rural areas are concerned. We have to do two things together: improve their or modernize, without them leaving that job and coming to the center and becoming a pressure on the urban population. So these are difficult tasks. These need long-term planning. They need everybody to sit down and visualize 10 years from now what we want to do with this kind of a problem, which we probably didn't anticipate 5 years ago.
Yeah. And it's swiftly getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse. It's getting more immediate, I would think.
Yeah. Let's take a step back and talk about the Trump tariff war on India. You've seen that whole episode.
Yeah.
What do you think happened?
I think he's shot himself in the foot.
Do you think we called his bluff?
I think we called his bluff. Everybody called it. I think all three, he tried with us, tried with Chinese, we tried with the Russians. They put their foot down, and I think it was a very good policy of Shri Modi to say nothing. Outwardly, if you have a chat, speak very smoothly and nicely and wish him good luck and so on and so forth. He's wished you happy birthday. Say thank you very much. That's it. But once you break a trust in a friendship, it takes a long time to rebuild.
Yeah.
If the Americans say they spent 25 years building this trust, and today the Indians are sitting along with the Russians and the Chinese, so we've lost them. Not necessarily lost them, but we are sending a message. It's all about messaging.
You think that that photo up in the SEO summit did its work?
It has alarmed them immensely.
Right.
That these three fellows are sitting together and they seem to be quite happy with each other. They're not looking the other way and
Holding hands and
holding
smiling.
hands, and they must be finding something funny to laugh about. So we hope it wasn't Trump, eh?
Now, there were many people, when this started, who said things like, hey, I mean, we might have to just play for Trump's ego, right? Just nominate him for the Nobel or whatever.
No.
And just say a few kind words and whatnot. I mean, you have nothing to lose. Just play to his ego. That's his personality. Sit down at the table, negotiate and so on, right? What do we lose? But we kept firm, and that was proven right on hindsight. And we are keeping firm at this point of time as well, especially on the agriculture front and so on.
Yeah, you can't do this only once. You must understand. I mean, you doesn't mean you.
Right.
I mean, we must understand that a person like this will ask for more next time, and more. So where do you draw the
And
line?
insert a time.
And how come when you did not do what you claim you did? Why should I give you the credit? It was my pressure that brought their DGMO running, Baba Bas Karo. It was the military of Pakistan which asked the military of India to please stop.
So it's not so much just the optics itself, but the optics also define, the optics have severe consequences.
Yes.
As well. So it's not as simple as saying, hey, okay, he did play a part, or we nominate him for the Nobel and so on. But those have consequences.
And so let him, we don't grudge him, he can get a Nobel Peace Prize if he wants. But I am not the sponsor. And maybe that hurt him, so we put the tariff. Okay, so be it. So what does the tariff mean? Things become expensive for them?
Yeah, likely the consumers will pick up the price, right?
They have to pick up the price.
Yeah.
So we stop exporting? Do they have a substitute? No, they don't. And if they make a substitute, who makes it? The Americans make it at a higher price. They won't make it at the price that we made it at. It's not that Kolhapuri chappal which Zara or somebody was selling at $2,000 or something?
Yeah, like a ridiculous price.
So that's the difference.
Yeah.
So you can tell all the Indian analysts on the computer can go home. We don't need them on software or whatever. And we got a substitute at the same cost.
Do you think this also erodes trust in his own base, in Trump's own base?
I think his base has been hurt in the Midlands, where these farm belts are. He's very worried about that. I should think he's worried about that, because after all, what's his name? This fellow, Link something, who's saying they're 1.4 billion population. They're not buying a bushel. Not even one. That's their worry. Kaun uthayega ye saman? Who will buy all this?
But Trump is also on a second term, right? He doesn't have a third term, so he's just going for the jugular in some sense. He's trying to do everything that he can possibly.
Yeah, some say he might bring in a regulation that there will be no more elections. Well, that's going too far. That's not going to happen. That's his last term, and maybe next year that will determine how the elections turn out. Right now, he's got the Senate and the Congress and the Supreme Court with him. Next year, it might change because the margin is not very great between the two. So if that changes, his hold weakens. He might be singing a different tune by next year. But between now and next year, he can do a lot of damage, no?
Yeah, for sure.
Look at the way he's not doing anything in Gaza. He's just keeping quiet. The Israelis can bombard Qatar. He doesn't get out of the bed and say ceasefire. He lets it happen.
Trump Tower in Gaza has taken a backseat, basically.
Yes.
Right.
He's still very keen on developing that area into the Gaza as a Riviera, like the Italian or the French. And I believe some contracts have also been considered. But where will the Gazans go? Nobody knows.
The thing with Trump is you don't know when to take him literally and when to take him like humorously, right? I mean, if he's joking or if he's really serious about something.
No, I think he's very serious about everything. He's dead sure he's a paragon of everything. Virtue, business, contracts. He's the best golfer. He's the best... everything he does is gold. So it's nice to be like that. It makes you feel happy and contented, maybe. So it's okay. They elected him. Now bear with him.
I like when he tweets all uppercases,
Yes.
something, your best president, bracket me. Right?
I haven't seen that one. But yeah, I can believe that. Now he calls him President DJT,
Yeah.
Signs off.
I was listening to this former CIA director talk about, just in general how things have changed and so on. And he also brought up this point about, look, we've invested so much time and effort into our relationship with India, and this man seems to be like single-handedly like destroying all of these things. And if you hear one or two or three of these folks, right, I mean, there seems to be some kind of a fissure between the, whatever legacy, conventional wisdom there, and what Trump is doing.
Yeah.
So do we expect that the next person who takes office will revert back to the original and restore what it was? Or?
No, we hope it happens, because it's in nobody's interest to let this go on like this. America is a powerful, useful country still. It's not that it isn't so. But don't expect India to be your hobby horse. We have our interests also. We would like to preserve them and develop them and safeguard them, just like you do. So you and I can sit down and talk and say, this is your limit, this is my limit. Is there a vector where we can agree on something? Okay, you might get 60%, I'll get 40%. You're the bigger power. But I'm not going to say 100% is yours and I get nothing except the pleasure of being your hobby horse. Or your proxy for any war against China or anybody else. No.
In that photo, with Modi ji, Putin and Xi, I think, Modi ji and Xi being close together might have really triggered him. Because, I mean, obviously we have historical ties with Russia.
Yeah.
But we've fought wars with China, right? And we've had skirmishes along the border. We can't seem to agree on those kind of things. But seeing those two leaders together would have really been something of a shock for
Yeah, because they were quite happy when all these incidents were happening on the border and there was fights going on and soldiers being killed. They're saying now what Trump has achieved is a reverse Nixon. Nixon had gone to China and got China away from Soviet Union. Okay, 72. Well, Trump has made that stronger and got India into the same group. Imagine Russia on top, Arctic, Russia, China, India, Indian Ocean, Pacific. 3 nuclear powers, standing armies, battle ready, battle hardened, and the Russians certainly are battle hardened.
Oh, yeah.
Even more than us now.
But
We're
they're
the
holding on
second.
for 3.5 years now,
Yeah,
I think.
we are the second.
Yeah.
The Chinese haven't fought a war since 79, actually, in Vietnam, where they didn't do too well. So, but still, the nuclear power is the biggest, one of the largest economies, second largest, hoping to become number one. So, if you can have an agreement, you need 3 statesmen.
Do you think there is some scope for a thawing of relationship between India and China, between all in the middle of
We
all
have
this?
to endeavor for that. We'll keep trying. We have to keep working.
But we don't seem to agree on the border, right, with these folks?
Yeah. Either you say that regardless of the border, we will trade and not interfere with each other at all. Yes. Huh? I swear to God, I hope to die kind of arrangement. Things, it's 50, 60, 70 years old now. So many, 3 generations almost. We haven't come to an agreement. We still keep, and it's a drain on resources for us. Whatever you may call it, we're certainly spending more on our defense because a 2-front reality cannot be ruled out.
Right.
So, it is in our interest to try and solve the problem. It is also in China's interest to solve it with us, so that we don't at some stage, some wild stage, hurry back and jump into the American lap.
They also seem to be hitting the margin on their investments in Pakistan, right? I mean, we keep reading about all these Chinese nationals, either being attacked or having some kind of fights in Pakistan.
I believe they keep having fights in the Gilgit-Baltistan area.
Right.
And they've been asked, they bring their own soldiers to, guard them, protect them all along the CPEC route and etc. So there is unease in Beijing about how this CPEC is doing.
And how Pakistan is cozying up with the US.
Yeah. I'm sure they're maybe at one stage they wouldn't have minded actually.
Really?
But not when their relationship with us was bad. They didn't mind the Pakis getting a little bit closer to the Americans and then get the Indians in a pincer.
But they've poured in so much money into Pakistan, right? I mean, Pakistan's, I think, the largest debt is Chinese.
Yeah.
So do you think they will cede there and make way for the US to, take whatever is interesting and viable from their perspective, or?
No, if they've lost, if so much money is invested or dumped in Pakistan, I don't have the exact figures how much the Americans might have given over the 70-year period, and how much the Chinese have given. But they could definitely have a discussion among the two of them. How much of this belongs to you and how much of this belongs to me.
So it's just pragmatic policy, basically. What can we do to, or should we make some kind of overtures to, build a better relationship with China?
I think that's an ongoing effort. We cannot not take such a strong power on our borders lightly.
Right.
We need to have better relations with China. And we need to have patience with them. because they're made like that. They take time. Civilizations grow slowly. The actions are slow, and it's not a 200-year country which wants everything done tomorrow. So it'll take time. It'll take understanding. It'll take trust.
So you think there's likely an unbanning of TikTok anytime?
Here, I don't know. That's not for the Americans have unbanned it. No,
I think, I mean, it's on the cards.
but I can see it. I can see TikTok here.
Here?
People keep sending it.
Really? Do we have
Yeah.
TikTok now? No, we don't.
I can show you.
Oh,
I don't know whether it's
no, we don't.
pirated or what. But people send it. Or is it Instagram? Maybe
Instagram.
it's Instagram. Maybe
I think
it's Instagram.
TikTok is still banned.
Instagram.
So we still have, Russia and Ukraine ongoing, right? And both Zelensky and, of course, Putin speak with Modi ji on the regular, and they have expressed that India is doing its best to sort of like humanitarian efforts and so on and so forth. But what do you think happens next in the Russia-Ukraine war?
If you listen to Jeffrey Sachs or Meirzheimer and others, Ukraine has lost it. Russians have the upper hand. It's a war America has lost. Now it's a question of agreeing to this. That's why we come up with these absurd statements that the war has got prolonged because India is buying Russian oil. Therefore, they're getting money to buy weapons. They don't need money to buy weapons. They have enough weapons on their own. Those are the kinds of arguments that they can't buy a bushel of oil and corn from us, so many people. These are arguments of panic, not reasonable arguments, not reason.
So you think the US is figuring a way to save face on the US?
It always does. I think this is what it's looking for. Ukraine was a proxy.
But they're still supplying weapons, no?
So weapons, though, it's good for my industry, no? I give you $100 million and ask you to buy $90 million weapons from him, and he's my friend in the same place. The money comes back. And then you carry on with, and 1,000 more people are killed.
And you find a new cause.
Yeah, and it's that. That's how the operation is like this. Basically, the war after all, he is now calling his ministry the Ministry of War, Department of War, not peace. So that shows you, if you tomorrow were to go and buy F-35 or thing like that, they'll have a different tune for us.
What will the end of that war look like? I mean, do you think that Russia will just annex Ukraine? Do you think that they will make them a vassal state and install like a pro-Russia leadership? Or do you think, it will be a lot more extractive, and what will the end look like?
You see, Ukraine was a granary of the Russian Soviet Federation, and also supply for Eastern Europe. So is that going to be restored? The Russian-speaking belt may probably break off from Ukraine, and they'll leave the rest intact, make it a member of EU, but no NATO. Then you carry on with life. But somebody has to say yes to it, no? Somebody has to say we can't do it anymore. If in Syria you can oust the President Assad and bring in this
ex-ISIS
ISIS man, change his clothes and make him wear a tie and suit and say, he is the president of the Syrian Republic or whatever. What is the message you're giving? What is the message to me and you, everybody else? That interests will make you change your pronouncements and actions.
Do you think there's also a problem with the US in general? I mean, it's extremely transactional.
It is a transactional arrangement.
I mean, it's good to think about your interests, but you can't think about your interests only, right?
Only. That's it.
Something we should...
US aid and all these agencies were used. So we must understand that the United States is a powerful country because it has powerful instruments to use, which we don't have.
It wants to have a monopoly on money and violence, basically.
Yeah, it has to have democracies everywhere which are pliable, or dictatorships. Not these fellows, these wretched Indians who keep talking about self-reliance and my own interests. I must protect my interests. That's not the game. How do they want to deal China in the future is what is going to bother them.
But the Israelis seem to have a number on these folks, right? I mean, they seem to be able to do anything with anything they want, including bomb Qatar maybe.
Yeah, they have a huge. I think they have tremendous following or support in the American establishment.
I mean,
establishment. I mean, just not the cabinet or anything. Generally, in the media, among the people, on the think tanks, and everywhere else, there is a feeling that is strongly pro-Israel. Israel also has a problem, like you're living in an area where everybody is out to kill you.
Yeah.
They have to defend themselves by any means and how.
But it also seems like Netanyahu has gone full Rajapaksha, right? I mean, he wants to eliminate every last one of them.
Yeah. That's a bit much by any standards. And where are those people going to go?
Do you think the opinion is kind of turning? I mean, because
there is a section that was always there, which is getting more vocal now, that this has gone way beyond what was necessary to avenge what happened on 7th of October. But perhaps they see it as a means to just go the full throttle and finish it. You can't, it's not, in this day and age, it's not something you can do and get away with easily.
So we've discussed a bunch of these issues, various theaters across the world. We heard this word called multipolarity a few years ago, and it's become more and more prominent. But it also seems like the dominant powers, right? I mean, US doesn't seem to accept this. I mean, it's a threat to its supremacy and so on. Do you see a point where they will kind of reconcile to thinking that, okay, we are a dominant power, but so are, 1 and 2 other countries or regions and so on, and we can all live happily? I mean, is that very naive to think?
I think that realization will come eventually, but it won't come next year or 2 years or 3 years from now. I can't time it, but that has to come. That is how the world is going. There's nobody strong enough who can control the whole world, but there are plenty of other big powers who say that we must have a say in what is going on in the world. And the US alone cannot decide. US, it's like imposing sanctions. My law says I shall impose a sanction on you. Have you ever heard of domestic law being used for external purposes? It's law made in America by the Americans. And say, if India trades with China, I put a ban on India. They had the power to do it. Now that is gone. I see that on this tariff issue is going. I see that they're not able to win wars. They actually haven't won a war for a long, long time. If you go back into history and look, they haven't. But the presence is there, global presence is there. You have 800 bases, and you have the smartest weapons. You fly at so many, what is it, that speed number, 10 or 12, what's that word?
Mark, is it?
Mark 2, Mark 4, Mark 15.
Right.
You have those and you can destroy so much in one bombardment. What is the goal then? The goal is to reconstruct.
Destruction and reconstruction.
That is the economy.
Right.
So that has to change. Forever wars are out. We can't have it. The world can't afford it. You've neglected Africa for so many years. And everybody wants a part of Africa now because of the natural resources there. So we're all in the resource war. All this, there has to be some arrangement where only one country won't have access to it. And if you want democracies of the world, then you have a global democracy, then you must have global democracy. Okay, you are the boss, you are the captain of the team, let's say. But you're not everything.
Right. You must inspire trust.
Yeah, you must inspire trust and make it worth following you.
Right.
To emulate you, to copy.
So going into the future, what is something India should watch out for if you were to look at the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years?
I think we have to watch for inroads that will be attempted against us to prevent us from rising quickly and further. That'll happen. So tighten your belts and sit down for the flight.
Well, on that rather cautious note, we come to the end of this conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you again, sir. I mean, every time we speak with you, I mean, we gather so many of these different insights, but we're also able to put everything together in terms of why something is happening or how it is connected to this other thing that's happening and so on. So thank you again for
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Sparing time with us. Thank you, sir.
Take care. All the best.